everybody, and welcome to Cancer Answers with Dr. V. I'm Dr. Véronique Desogniers, founder of the 7 Essential System and breastcancerconqueror.com, and a two-time conqueror with breast cancer. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for all your questions. I'm going to do my best to answer them. And please note, as a disclaimer before I start off, I'm not a medical doctor. I am a chiropractor. And I'm not giving you advice based on being a chiropractor. I'm giving you information for educational purposes only. And please check with your physician, your medical doctor, for any type of treatments that you may be thinking about. Any information that we talk about here is solely for educational purposes only. Hey, Randy. Nice to see everybody here. Send me some love as I'm answering these questions. All right, so the first question is, and I don't have a name here, I just have the questions. Hi, Dr. V. I want to let you know that I survived the surgery and they told me the breast cancer has spread to my lungs. The two options they gave me were Herceptin and anastrozole. Do you have a specific video talking about how dangerous these two things are? He basically said that those are my only two options with chemo. Oh, and offered me the gamma knife radiation on a little tumor in my right lung. Thank you for listening. All right. So, do I have options for Herceptin and anastrozole? Well, first of all, Herceptin is a chemotherapy drug that is used to treat women that have HER2-positive breast cancer. And HER2 is basically a genetic expression, which means that basically this gene it's a human epidermal growth factor. So it's a growth factor that's overexpressed. And why is it overexpressing? This thing keeps popping up here. Why is it overexpressing? That's a very good question. We know with the science of epigenetics, which looks at how our genes can be influenced through our diet, through our environment, through our lifestyle, that certain genes can get turned on and certain genes can get turned off. And so traditional medicine likes to look at medications to try and turn those genes off. We know, according to science and a new science called nutrigenomics, that nutrigenomics can show you how food impacts different gene expressions. So technically, I'm not going to tell you or discuss those drugs with you. Anastrozole basically is an aromatase inhibitor, which tells you from the traditional point of view that traditional medicine believes that our hormones are driving cancer. So if you have an estrogen positive or progesterone positive cancer, that it's actually your hormones that are causing the cancer. Well, I don't agree with that, because let's reason on this. If your hormones cause cancer, then every 20-year-old on the planet would have cancer, correct? So what we have to look at is two things. Number one, you have to look at the environmental exposure, the chemical estrogens that you're exposed to. Plastics, pesticides, herbicides, dry cleaning fluid, the metal in your teeth. Mercury is a metalloestrogen. Aluminum, antiperspirant deodorant. Aluminum is a metalloestrogen that can mimic and stimulate estrogen in the body. So all these chemical estrogens are bombarding our bodies, and we have to learn how to reduce our toxic exposure to those things, and also to support our bodies so we can break them down and synthesize them better. The second thing you want to do when it comes to understanding a estrogen or progesterone positive cancer is to look at your methylation pathways. Now, methylation is a way that your body breaks down certain things or changes things. So for example, it takes serotonin and makes it into melatonin. It helps with the detoxification pathways of the liver. If you have a problem methylating or metabolizing your hormones, then yes, those estrogens will continue to circulate, and that can certainly increase your risk. The other thing that we need to mention too is that if you have an unhealthy gut, there's a specific subset of microbiome in your gut called the estrobolome, which specifically help to break down the estrogens in the gut so you can excrete them. And they also signal the liver for better detoxification of those estrogens as well. So a healthy gut, reducing your toxic exposure to all the aggressive estrogens around you, the metalloestrogens like mercury, cadmium, aluminum, and then making sure that you have, proper metabolism. So to answer your question, there are different choices that you can make. You can go to our website and look up that very topic. Hello, how do you know if you have a problem methylating? That's a good question. So Lori, if you have a problem methylating, there's two ways that you can find out. One is through a DNA test to see if you have an issue with the MTHFR gene. The other way is to get a urine test that will look at the different estrogen metabolites in the body to show you if you're not breaking down your estrogens properly. So that's a good question. All right, so hopefully that helped to answer those questions about Herceptin and anastrozole. Here's another question about HER2 positive. What helps to block the HER2 receptors other than Herceptin? I'm a stage 4 metastatic, but still have mets in both lungs. She's doing a targeted chemo. She wants to try something different, wants to see what I can recommend. Well, again, HER2 positive means that that gene, that epidermal growth factor, is being overexpressed. Hello, hi everybody, send me some love. I'm seeing some names pop up here. And so it goes back to, again, going to, proper understanding of how your genes can be expressed. So look at your lifestyle, look at the food that you're eating, because we know that those things can shut down your health promoting genes and can turn on cancer promoting genes. So you have to ask yourself, what is causing that gene to mutate? And you have to really look at your environment, look at your lifestyle, look at your nutrition. Again, if you go online, you can find a lot of information on that. Some basic things that I've read that have showed promise would be high dosaging of curcumin, broccoli sprouts that has the sulforaphane in it, apigenin, which is an extract from celery. But then again, it can't just be that simple. You really have to dive in, do your own research, work with a healthcare practitioner, do your own research, and do what is best for you, and check with your medical practitioner. All right, here's another question about tamoxifen. Hey Robbie, nice to see you. Have you heard of a link between aromatase inhibitors causing rheumatoid arthritis? Have you heard of women developing RA after taking AIs? So aromatase inhibitors basically block, it's typically given to postmenopausal women, so it's designed to block the androgens or the testosterone in your body into converting into estrogen. Now, again, this goes back to the fact that your hormones are, shown to be causing cancer based on traditional medicine's point of view. But let's reason on this. We need our hormones for brain health, bone health, cardiovascular health, immune health. We need our hormones to live a vibrantly healthy life. So to block those can certainly cause a lot of different symptoms. We know that tamoxifen, for example, has been classified as a class 2 carcinogen by the World Health Organization and the American Cancer Society. So you have to really look at the side effects and weigh out what's best for you. Have I heard of someone specifically developing rheumatoid arthritis with AIs? No, I have not, but it doesn't surprise me because the list of side effects are terrible. I've been prescribed tamoxifen. I'm so conflicted on taking it. What are your thoughts on this drug? Well, I think I answered that question, and I certainly understand how conflicted you are, because on one hand you have your doctor telling you that you have to take this, it's going to prevent cancer in the future, and on the other hand you have your gut and your perhaps your own research trying to weigh the balance. It's a personal decision that you have to make. You have to get very clear about, why you would take it, the side effects, how you can manage the side effects. And if you choose not to take tamoxifen, then you have to make sure that you're metabolizing estrogen properly, and that you're methylating properly, that you have a healthy gut, and a lot of other things. So there's a blog on this on my website, specifically on tamoxifen, so you can get some pointers there. So somebody asked, how do you get a healthy gut? Hello from Ontario, Canada. Hello, fellow Canadian. How do you get a healthy gut? Fermented foods, prebiotics, probiotics, avoiding processed foods, doing coffee enemas, getting colonics on a regular basis to make sure that your gut does not have any old debris sticking to the walls. Here's another question. Can you talk more about what to do when you're totally against tamoxifen? How do you monitor your hormones and know what is really causing the problem? So that's a great question. How do we monitor our hormones? Traditionally, a medical doctor will tell you to just, draw blood to check your hormone levels. That will tell you what your hormones are at that particular moment of the day. It will not give you an overall picture. I really like doing saliva testing, or saliva testing, because that will give you a window of 12 hours during the day, morning, noon, dinner time, and evening time, to show you if you're, what's going on with your hormones. Do you have peaks? Do you have, too much of the estradiol, not enough of the estriol, too much of the progesterone? Is there progesterone estrogen imbalance? So there are plenty of good labs out there. ZRT labs, Labrix, Labrix is another great way, but work with somebody who understands those types of tests so you can know how to balance your hormones properly. But that's a very good question. Definitely check your hormones. And remember, your hormones do not cause cancer. I think I answered that question. Saliva testing, you have to order the kit through a physician. However, ZRT Labs does have a patient portal where you can just order your own kit. So here's a question, somebody from Europe. I bought the program and received the USB. So she purchased the Never Fear Breast Cancer Again online program. Hope you're liking it. What is the most important test to do for someone who is diagnosed with IDC grade 1 in ductal carcinoma? In Europe, I don't know what you would have available there. I would say 3 basic tests to know where your inflammatory markers are. So LDH is 1, lactose dehydrogenase. Number 2 would be high sensitive CRP, or C-reactive protein. High sensitive CRP. And number 3 would be S as in Sam, R. That's your red blood cell sedimentation rate. Now, those 3 tests were coined by Dr. Nasha Winters. She calls them the trifecta because there's 3 tests. You can do these tests to see how inflamed your body is. And we know, according to studies, that women with high inflammatory markers, such as these, have a lower survival rate. So if you monitor your inflammatory markers, that will give you a good idea of what's happening in the body as far as the activity of the cancer. Of course, in Europe, you can also look at the RGCC test, or the grease test, to look at the number of circulating stem cells and natural extracts that you can take to help weaken those and kill those off. What would you recommend for very early detection? Well, there's many options out there, thankfully. First one I always recommend is thermography. Thank you, BB. I'm glad you're enjoying my program. Hi, Kelly. So thermography is a non-invasive way of looking at the breast tissue, or any part of the body, basically. So it's a camera that reads the infrared heat coming off of your body, and then it transposes it into the computer screen through the software, and it shows you red and white is very inflamed, blue and green is cool. And so you want nice, cool blue and green breasts and you want them to be symmetrical. If there's a hot spot, or if you can actually see blood flow feeding an area, you know, lots of vascularity in that area, then we know that that may be suspicious. Mammograms, for example, are on average about 83% accurate. Thermography is about the same, maybe a little bit higher. Ultrasounds are great because, again, they are non-invasive and have no pain, no radiation. And then there's also something called liquid biopsies, which basically look at the blood to see if there's, you know, cancer activity. So, for example, the IV gene test, so IVY gene, G-E-N-E, is a test that reads the free circulating cancer DNA in the blood. And so if there are circulating cancer cells that are dying off, then it'll pick up that in the blood, and it'll give you a score on a scale of 1 to 75. 0 to 19 is the green zone, and anything above that is in the red zone. So that's a simple way to look at activity. Now, it's been tested for 4 different types of cancers. Breast cancer is one of them. Hey, Ginger. Can you elaborate on fibroids in the breast? Let me answer that question. Yes, so I think I answered the question on early detection. So ultrasound, thermography, if you choose to have a mammogram, I've never had one, and I'll leave that alone. Liquid biopsies, and then of course there's self-breast exams. Now we'll be coming out with a product called My Breast Friend, which will be a silicone breast model that will help you to determine what a normal breast tissue feels like and what an unhealthy lump or a lump may feel like. And so look for My Breast Friend. That'll be rolling out soon. Actually, I've got the box under here, under this holder, so I can't show it to you. All right, let's see. There was a question on fibroids in the breasts. Yes. So fibroids in the breast or in the uterus or on the ovaries is nothing more than an overexpression of growth, and that's either because of insulin resistance and too much sugar in the diet, or a hormone imbalance where there's estrogen dominance, either not enough progesterone to keep the estrogen in balance, and or too much estrogen exposure through the different you know, chemical estrogens that we talked about. Fibroids can be, I've seen them, you know, shrink. You know, once you change your lifestyle and your diet and you balance your hormones. So you have to pay attention to fibroids, because fibroids can be an early warning sign of eventually developing cancer. So speaking of thermography, how often do you recommend women get checked using thermography? Well, you initially do your scan, and then you get checked 3 months later to see if there's any change. If there's no change in the images, then once a year is a great way to you know, stay on top of things. Hello from New Zealand. Aww. Anita, fighting stage 4 breast cancer mets to the bones. So Anita, there's a product you need to know about. It's called Maragen, M-A-R-A-G-E-N. It's a form of ionic calcium that is proven to be very beneficial for women in your situation with bone mets and cancer. Look at my blog. I just posted something about it. It's called Ionic Calcium, and that will give you more information, and hopefully you'll be able to find a physician in your area to be able to get it. But I would definitely encourage you to take a look at that. Is thermography only available in the US, and what to do if you're in the UK? So the good news is thermography is available worldwide. If you go to the website thermologyonline.org, so that's thermo, T-H-E-R-M-O-L-O-G-Y, thermologyonline.org. You can look at the country and find a thermographer in your area. So that's the good news. Is there any financial support offered for people who want thermography considering insurance does not cover it. We found that about 50% of insurance companies are covering thermography now. But the good news is there is an organization called United Breast Cancer Foundation. That's ubcf.org, United Breast Cancer Foundation. And they actually help women to pay for their thermography scans. So that's pretty awesome. Let's see. I'm 33. When do I get a thermographic scan? Right away. That's basically it. I don't care how old you are. I've seen, unfortunately, women as young as 19 develop breast cancer. So thermogram, ultrasound to me is a must if, you know, as soon as you go into puberty. And of course, learning how to, you know, do a consistent breast exam, which we'll be talking about very soon. Tips or advice. Dr. V, can you give us some tips on how we can take care of our thyroid? Our dear little thyroid, it's struggling so much with all the issues in our environment. First of all, make sure that you have enough iodine in your diet. So lots of clean seafood, seaweed. You can buy Dulse flakes and just sprinkle them on your food. You can also do an iodine loading test, which checks the urine, a 24-hour urine test, to see how deficient you are in iodine. And if you're very deficient in iodine, then I recommend, you know, taking it orally. Again, you know, work with a physician who understands how to do that test and who understands how to supplement taking iodine. Because if you take too much iodine, that can throw you into hypothyroidism. So make sure you work with a practitioner that can help you do that test. The other thing that you have to think about is our electronics. So if you're talking on your phone like this or like this, and you're spending a lot of time, or it's by your bedside, these things, as we had our webinar last week, give off a lot of non-ionizing microwave radiation that is affecting you 24/7. So make sure that you hold your phone away from your body. Put it on airplane mode when you're not using it. It does not need to be on your body, and just use it with caution. I do recommend products from Geo Wellness, which are patented and scientifically validated to show that it can mitigate the effects of the stress that this wireless technology is causing our body. Do you feel most postmenopausal women should be on bioidentical hormones? Well, that's a very personal question, and I'm not going to really give that opinion. I'll give an opinion based on research. Research has shown us that women on bioidentical hormones such as progesterone actually can decrease their risk for breast cancer. This was based on I forget how many years, a very long study done in France. I personally take bioidentical hormones on a very limited basis, but I monitor my hormones and I do saliva testing to make sure that I'm in proper range. So again, you have to work with a healthcare provider that understands how to balance your hormones naturally. And it's not for everybody. You know, some women would rather, you know, not do the hormones and do homeopathics or foods that would help to support their hormonal health. Are AI and DIM or I3C necessary for preventing ER, PR positive breast cancer? Well, that's a complicated question. So DIM is an extract. DIM and I3C are extracts from cruciferous vegetables. Are they necessary for breast cancer prevention? If you have a problem methylating or metabolizing estrogens, then I would say yes. As a good preventative tip, I would say make sure you get lots of cruciferous vegetables in your diet. Broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, radishes, you know, all those good cruciferous vegetables that can help to metabolize and break down those estrogens. So is it a given that everybody needs to be on those? Not necessarily. Aromatase inhibitors, if you're taking it as a prevention, I've never heard of that, but I certainly would check with your healthcare practitioner to see if that's a wise choice. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. Get some soon. Are you eating meat or animal food? And if not, how do you cover the protein need? Well, personally, I do eat very clean meat on a limited basis. So maybe that much, 2 ounces, 3 ounces at the most, and not necessarily every day. I'm an O blood type, so I feel I thrive better with protein, and based on my DNA and my gene pathway, basically, I do better. My body feels better and functions better when I have some sort of animal protein. So lots of clean fish. Occasionally I do chicken. Occasionally I'll do some, some beef and some lamb, duck, elk, venison. Wild meats are definitely much better for you than the over commercialized, but make sure that the meat that you eat is grass fed and they've had plenty of sunshine and they've lived a happy life. Let's see. You're welcome for this information. Are there clinics in the U.S. for cryo for qualifying breast cancer patients? So yes, there are clinics in the U.S. I'm aware of 2 of them. So cryotherapy, I don't know if you're referring to cryoablation or cryotherapy, which is the whole body. Cryoablation basically is the insertion of a needle into the tumor, and they blast it with liquid nitrogen that freezes, literally freezes the tumor and causes it to die. I've heard 2 stories on that. Some say that it's very painful. Some say that it's not painful at all. So you can, to find out where those clinics are, you can email us at support@breastcancerconqueror.com, and we'll get that information out to you. Found the iodine test is not reliable. Well, Donna, I'm not sure which test that you did. I know in the past we've used a 24 iodine loading test, and it seemed to be pretty reliable. Thank you for all the hearts and the love, everybody. A blood test to show iodine levels in your blood is not accurate at all. You really have to do a 24-hour iodine loading test. Can you please post the information you are educating us about? Yes, Victorianne, yes, I will do that. After we don't go live anymore, I will post the information on the answers of the questions. Hi from Macon, Georgia. Wow. Hello, Selena. Cause of breast tenderness 1 week prior to menstruation each month. So that means that you are estrogen dominant and your hormones are out of balance. I don't know how old you are, but if you don't have enough progesterone and there's too much estrogen and you're being exposed to too many aggressive estrogens, then I would say that that's the problem. Really look at your lifestyle, look at your diet, eliminate sugar, eliminate any kind of processed foods, eat organic as much as possible. Before I found you, I was treated for breast cancer with chemo and radiation. Is there something, sorry, I'm not seeing, let's see, I don't see the rest of your comment, Lori. Is there something I can do? So Lori, yes, whether you've done traditional treatments, it really doesn't matter. That's behind you. So what we want to do now is support you going forward to make sure that you never have a recurrence and that you never have to fear breast cancer again. We'll be launching a new program specifically for women who've been through traditional treatments and what they can do to offset the symptoms and heal their bodies from the side effects of the treatments. What do you feel are the most important lifestyle changes for a survivor to make? Well, if you've followed me at all, this is from Kaylee Rianne. So Kaylee, if you know me at all, I've got a system called the 7 Essential System, and it's a step-by-step guide that takes you through that whole process, because there's so much information out there and you can try and do bits and pieces here and there, but when you follow a system that guides you through the process, then you don't have to try and figure things out on your own. So check out my website, breastcancerconqueror.com, and look at the 7 Essential System. We do have an online course that takes you through that. So 1 is food, 2 is toxicity, 3 is balancing your energy and your hormones. 4 is dealing with the emotional wounds, healing your heart. 5 is looking at biological dentistry, what you have in your mouth. 6 it has to do with the therapeutic plants and herbs, the supplements, what to do. And 7 has to do with all the testing that you can do to make sure you keep a pulse on your health and you never have to fear breast cancer again. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. Thank you, Donna. You're very welcome, everybody. So Amy, hi, Dr. V. Just wondering how long after mastectomy could after effects show up, such as arm numbness. Unfortunately, those situations can last for months. I don't know anything else about your situation. Make sure that you work with a trained massage therapist or physical therapist that understands, the scarring and the problems that you can have as a result of mastectomies or any type of surgery for that matter. Lymphatic drainage is also very important. Do you know the supplement BracoProtect? Would this be something one could take if having estrogen dominance? So I'm not familiar with BracoProtect, but I'm assuming that it has broccoli sprouts and sulforaphane in it. We have a product in our store called Braco Power, and basically it's concentration of broccoli sprouts, and we know the broccoli sprouts has more sulforaphane in it than the mature vegetable. Sulforaphane helps to turn on over 200 health promoting genes. Sulforaphane is an amazing molecule and nutritional compound that has been studied extensively. So I'm an advocate of taking lots of broccoli sprouts, and I'm assuming BracoProtect has something like that. Our Braco Power in the store is great. 1 capsule is equivalent to 2 cups of broccoli sprouts. I take 4 to 6 a day because sulforaphane and broccoli sprouts are the bomb. If someone is doing chemo now, what can they do to offset those toxins? And that's from Andrea Kelly. So that's a great, great question, Andrea, which I cannot answer in 5 minutes or less. Again, we're coming out with a program, but if you go online and do your research, we do have a small snippet bonus in our online program, certain things that you can do to offset the side effects. A couple of things. Make sure that your vitamin D levels are optimal. Your vitamin D levels should be between 80 and 100 to have optimal healing. Make sure you've got iodine levels that are optimal. Something as simple as appeared there. Somebody called me. Melatonin is, we think of melatonin helping us sleep. Melatonin is classified as a cytotoxic hormone. It literally kills cancer cells, breast cancer cells, and breast cancer stem cells, which are the baby cancer cells that are so important. So simple things like that you can do to help yourself with that. Why are women pressured to get breast implants post-mastectomy? They seem counterintuitive. Well, Laura, that's a very, very good point. Personally, I'm not for breast implants after you've had a mastectomy. I can tell you that 98% of the women that we've talked to, that we've worked with, who've had implants, regret them because of the surgery, because of the infection, because of the scar tissue, because of the autoimmune issues that it causes. It's just one big headache after another. So my feeling is, or my opinion is, embrace your magnificence. Your breast does not define you. You're beautiful with or without your breast tissue. And so, weigh out the odds and the pros and cons of having some breast implants put in. All right, is iodine supplement different from iodine hospitals use? I'm allergic to iodine. Yes, iodine is a trace mineral. You cannot be allergic to iodine. If you were given iodine in a hospital, or perhaps you've eaten shellfish, then you have an allergy to that or to that chemical. But iodine is found in food. It's literally almost impossible to be allergic to iodine. That's kind of a myth that people have. All right, have stage 4 mets, breast cancer, metastasized to bone, liver, now have very swollen. I'm sorry, Shirley, I don't see the rest of your question here. I'll have to look at it after the thing. So a BRCA question. Dana, what's the BRCA question? Flat and fabulous. I love that, Angela. That's great. I'm not sure what the BRCA question is, other than the BRCA gene is actually a tumor suppressor gene. It's not a bad gene. You want a BRCA gene. Now, when the gene mutates, and what causes genes to mutate? Radiation, stress, bad lifestyle. Where do you get radiation every year, sometimes twice a year, right? Mammograms. Less than 5% of BRCA genes are actually familial or passed down. So the BRCA gene can actually be reversed. I've seen the research done. If you go to nutritionfacts.org, Dr. Michael Gerber, he actually has a video. If you just put in the search bar BRCA, you'll see that by eating a cup and a half of edamame beans, soybeans, real soybeans, they were able to reverse the BRCA gene mutation. I mean, that's amazing what food can do. All right, so do you feel 7 Essentials adequate for prevention, being pressured to do PBM? Well, yes, obviously. I think that if you've been diagnosed with the BRCA gene mutation, then you have to be extremely careful and diligent about how you live your life, because obviously if the BRCA gene is not functioning, it's not going to do its job. So you're going to have to be very vigilant. So in applying the 7 Essentials system, that's a great start. You would definitely have to, make sure you get all the testing done, that you look at your hormones, look at your lifestyle. I would also recommend that you do a nutritional DNA test called Nutrition Genome, so that you can see what foods actually support your genes and your body. All right, let's see. I'm so sad right now. Today, an iconic breast cancer thriver in Sweden died. She had lived with metastasis. I'm so sorry, Anna. Oh, yeah, don't like to hear that. And that's the problem with recurrences. You have to stay on top of your health. And that's where traditional medicine falls short, in that if they don't see anything in the scans, or they don't see anything in the traditional blood work, they send you on your merry way and tell you you're cancer free. So you live your life thinking that you're cancer free. But in reality, you have to keep a check on the breast cancer stem cells. These are the baby cancer cells that can cause metastasis and cause a recurrence. How do you test for those? Well, the RGCC, or the grease test, can look at measuring those stem cells and looking at natural extracts that will help to weaken and even destroy some of those cells. So definitely keep a pulse on your health. Do chemo and radiation cause cancer to become more aggressive? Well, that's what statistics show, and that's what science shows, that they actually cause cancer cells, or the stem cells, to become more resistant to the chemo and the radiation. So unfortunately, yes, chemo and radiation serve its purpose in destroying the tumor, but it's not just about getting rid of the tumor. You have to get to the root cause of what allowed the cancer to develop in the first place. All right, we've got more questions. We're going a little bit longer than I anticipated. Are there natural extracts to weaken breast cancer stem cells? Yes, there are. If you go to our website and go under blog, and you'll just put in breast cancer stem cells, you'll see there's a list of them. But things like curcumin, broccoli sprouts, ginger, etc., etc. I can't think of the whole list, but there's many that you can do. All right, last question. Do you know if you can get those stem cell tests in Sweden? I believe you can. If you just Google RGCC or the grease test, you should be able to find a laboratory in, maybe not in Sweden, but in Europe, where you can go get the test done. All right. This is Michelle. Hello, Dr. V. Lovely meeting you in LA for the Fran Dresser Summit. Sorry, I don't see the rest of your question. All right, so we'll be coming to you live next week from Sarasota, Florida, where we'll be doing a live interview with the developer of Argentine 23, which is a colloidal silver that is the best on the market. So this is Dr. V sending you a big healing heart hug, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.